Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and we're going to be doing a 2 versus 2 medieval battle on early settings. So this is early period army, so you're not going to be seeing too much in the way of technology obviously, but we still have the good old catapults here. So like I said, it's a siege and it's going to be not a high tier siege. I wanted to try a whole low tech type battle. You don't see those too many often, but yeah, it's going to be a Mott and Bailey type fortification. So basically you just have an outer perimeter here and then a little citadel here, not that it can be garrisoned. Anyways, the two forces are going to be the Milanese, so that's going to be me. I have deployed on multiple fronts. And then over on this side we have my Sicilian allies. He's got a nice compact formation, armored sergeants, backing, Muslim archers, and then in the back he has these dismounted Norman knights, very good units in the rear. So what he decided to do was just hole up and let his artillery do the work. So he's going to start knocking at the gates and he's going to wait to put pressure on here before he advances. Meanwhile, on the defense we have England and then also the Papal States. So they have a mix of defenses. They have dismounted feudal knights kind of hiding along the walls. They have Sherwood archers over in the center, and then a mix of papal guards. I have my own artillery over there in the distance. I'm going to start peppering the defenses. So I have two artillery units, and they're actually starting to do work just crisping some of the defenders. And then I have four archer units over here, and then a mix of various defenders. So I have armored sergeants, dismounted feudal knights, and some peasants running around. And they're just here in case this happened, which is going to be enemy cavalry trying to get at my guys. So you can see my units swarming around. Those are going to be all of my just foot infantry, so armored sergeants. My general is actually going to be here. Peasants, Italian spearmen, and then peasants. The rest, 1, 2, 3, 4, are going to be my peasant archers, and they are mostly going to try and target these Sherwood archers who are lower in number but can hit me from a distance. So I'm making sure I kill those guys. And then I'm also just trying to send out some peasants. I don't care if they get really run over. Their goal is just to intercept these cavalry. You can see I sent some Italian spearmen just to guard my catapults. I know these guys are going to be invaluable. So yeah, I'm making sure I can keep these guys at bay, and it looks like it's working. We've actually broken those guys. So the initial stages of the fight are going well. My catapults are moving up into position, and now my archers are going to start to close in on his guys. You can see the shots starting to rain in on his guys. He only has 45 men, but their accuracy is going to be splendid, especially against peasant archers. He's going to be doing way more damage than me, which is why I wanted to focus these guys down immediately. If they went uncontested, they would be able to do a lot of damage. Anyways, the rest of my deployment is going to be, I have more forces over here, again, kind of cheap militia units holding the battering ram. Back that up with dismounted feudal knights, and here are two of my heavily upgraded feudal knights. I'm keeping these as sort of reserve elite forces. And then I have more guys over here. It's going to be two peasant crossbowmen and then two militia spear units. And we're going to just kind of wait to advance. I'm getting them off of the battering rams because I see he's coming out here. I want to make sure I protect my crossbowmen. It looks like he's going to be dissuaded from moving forward. So I have to protect myself from these sallies. I know those can be very brutal. So I'm making sure I defend myself against those. And again, he has cavalry running around the outside. Meanwhile, my artillery is going to start focusing in on his big clump of troops up here. A huge group of dismounted feudal knights. And it looks like they're going to start to move out of this position. They know they're getting targeted. This unit is still, however, going to bear the brunt of my attack. Let's see if we get a shot in. No, it's going to go short. One of the things I do like about the older games of Total War is the artillery was never really reliable. If this were one of the later games, all of those shots probably would have destroyed these units, which makes it kind of unfair. I really prefer this type of battle mechanic where it's much more unreliable as to where your shots are going to hit. I think it makes it more balanced, and it kind of makes it more fun in terms of the I don't know how you call it. I don't know, the uncertainty of it makes it a little bit more annoying if you're the attacker and you don't quite hit your target, but then again, when you do hit, you feel that much more accomplished. We're going to be exchanging shots here. The Sherwood archers are paying pretty dearly for holding out. Both units, this guy is dropping rather precipitously, so they're shuffling in more crossbowmen, more archers. They can kind of see through the blind spots in here, but here comes at the gates one of my battering rams, so we're going to be moving up into position both of these units. So there you go, I destroyed one of Sherwood archers down to 16 men left, but he didn't, get away without doing much damage to me. I lost 10-15 men here and there, which will start to rack up, but as long as I can eliminate his long-range accurate archers, I'll be okay. So let's watch some of this as my archers move forward. Again, just unleashing on his ranks. Sherwood archers still holding out there. And oh man, I'm getting some nice shots with those artillery units. And now the gates are going to start to have holes in them as I just roll up with my battering rams. The opponent is still circling around me with his mounted sergeants, so I have to dispatch these guys. I'm glad I really left some defenders around my units here just to help protect me. He's going to charge sort of towards my peasants. Holy crap, there you go. Actually killed some of his men. So I have breached the gates, and now I'm going to be just pouring in the fire. And this opens up kind of an avenue as well for my catapults and artillery and archers especially. Look at this clear line of sight they have through there. So I know one of the main issues you have when you have sieges is you get bottlenecks. So I'm going to try and open up as many fronts as possible. But dang, take a look at all those shots coming in from my archers. And that's only one front. I have 4 peasant archers there. So a lot of shots crisscrossing. My opponent has a lot of missile units as well, but they're kind of split up. Over here my peasants are getting destroyed, but at least they're soaking up a lot of enemy fire. Sherwood archers from over there also concentrating fire, but it's again just on peasants. It doesn't really matter. The other peasant unit is going to be moving over here to try and break down the gates. I think he's going to countercharge me, however. But this is fine. I'm going to actually charge in. I'm going after his peasant crossbowmen. So it's peasant v peasant. But it looks like my guys are actually going to get routed once they hit inside the city, and then they're going to get countercharged by some feudal knights who are just going to go to town on these guys. So peasants doing what peasants do. Didn't expect much else, just to try and delay our opponents. And now poking more holes into the different walls. Like I said, my goal is just to open up as many fronts as possible. I'm going to charge in with my Italian spear militia. These guys aren't intended to get many kills, but I wanted to make sure I plugged this gap because not only, you know, is this a causeway for me to get inside the city, but these holes in the walls also mean he can charge out with all his units and potentially massacre my archers on my catapults. That's why I'm keeping reserve units back here, and that's why I'm plugging the gaps. Over here, I'm breaking up some holes through here. So Italian spear militia just to be at the vanguard of this, and then I have 2 dismounted feudal knights. No upgrades on these guys, they're still going to be charging into the gap. And the reason I sent these spearmen in first was to kind of clear out the defenses here. I wanted to charge into his mailed knights, just kind of clear the way for my Italian militia to move in through here. So we're going to get a nice charge.
Excellent! We have breached our enemy's walls.
Looks like more and more holes are opening up. But yeah, we charge into these guys, so that should be to my advantage. But cavalry are coming out of the city, and they're going to charge into the rear of my dismounted feudal knights, or my guys here. So he's not getting the best of charges. I decide to bring in my reserves at this point, just for a little bit, and you can see the armor on these guys, and you can clearly see their upgrades.
We are blessed.
And actually, lucky catapult shot hit the enemy general. But yeah, like I was saying, take a look at these knights. God damn it! Okay, we get it. I'm trying to show these people something. But yeah, look at the armor on these guys. And I look at the armor on these guys, clearly differentiated. That's one of the things I like about the medieval system of upgrades, is it's clear and it's visible. More tons of holes being punched into here, and also you see more of my artillery shots doing damage. I destroyed this whole general's bodyguard unit, so definitely my artillery units doing work in the distance. And another wall has brought low, so my ally is doing a lot of work, being very slow and methodical. And now his Muslim archers are going to be just firing en masse into this defender unit. Let's take a look at these guys. Armored sergeants do have good shields, good armor, so they're going to be soaking up a lot of that. And I guess better off these guys taking the brunt of that than dismounted feudal knights or someone else. But anyways, my Italian militia were held back at the gates by dismounted feudal knights. I will probably lose that. That's why I'm moving my crossbowmen onto their flank. Going to shoot right into their sides. Meanwhile, the other crossbowmen over here are going to start picking apart some of his cavalry and other units, so you can see these guys starting to go down. Over here, my guys are infiltrating the city. We killed off the cavalry, and now my dismounted feudal knights are going to be going to town against the papal guards over there, and also sandwiching these guys. So looks like the fight might go in my favor, and I disengaged 2 of my elite dismounted feudal knights. I'm going to be bringing them around the right flank. And nice, it looks like I killed 2 generals this fight, so doing well. Anyways, my elite guys are going to be circling around the enemy fortress, and what we're going to do is we're going to reinforce this position. I've been losing more and more of my guys. Basically, I only had peasants and spearmen here, So I'm keeping some of my armored sergeants in the rear. The militia guys up in the front are dead. I only have peasants, so not much left to defend all of my artillery and archers, so that's why I'm pulling over these guys to this position. My archers have taken a tremendous amount of damage. You can see over here, one of them is just down to 6 guys left, but I'm just doing everything I can to pour on the fire. I'm picking and choosing the key targets, or at least the targets I believe are key, namely these dismounted feudal knights. You can see the damage kind of starting to kick in. They're going to try and hide behind some of these defenses. And here comes a volley. I'm trying to clear out the wall to make way for my ally who's starting to move in slowly. He's going to put his catapults over on that side. But yeah, I'm going to pull out of this fight just a little bit with my peasants to allow my archers to now retarget these guys. But I noticed that my catapults are already starting to take fire from the towers, and one of them was destroyed, so I'm going to have to abandon this. I wanted to get close to clobber those guys, but it looks like I'm going to have to pull out of this fight, especially with troops engaging my catapults like they are now. He's cutting down my guys, so I'm going to tell all my units to run away, and I'm going to bring in my general's dismounted feudal knights to the fight.
We have lost half of our men.
And actually over here, this is an important part of the battle. My guys were finally routed. Cavalry charged in through the back, and reinforcing dismounted feudal knights actually cleaned up the remainder of my guys. So I still have dismounted feudal knights, but barely holding in there. They're going to be run down. Same thing over here. Cavalry charged outside the city into my backs, and they were single-handedly destroying my peasant crossbowmen. These guys, my guys, are having a very hard time killing them. I'm not quite sure why. But yeah, they are just having a field day with my men. There's a little bit of reinforcing archer fire. Crossbowmen probably helped even up that fight. But yeah, I have basically lost this sector of the battlefield. Dismounted feudal knights 54 against Italian militia. I'm going to lose this front, so there goes this side of the battlefield. But it wasn't without tremendous losses for both sides. And again, this has kind of been only my assault. I'm taking on 2 armies right now. My ally has not yet committed basically anything to the fight. He's letting his guys just start to mop up some enemy forces, and he's letting me take the brunt of the fight. Here come my reinforcements, just in the nick of time, and they're going to start actually routing the enemy forces, so doing work for sure. So there they go. They're going to be charging these guys back into the city, returning the catapults back into my side. Sherwood archers are actually charging out. I think they're probably out of ammo. We'll gladly take this fight, kill these peasants basically. And I'm going to start charging to the city. My first foray into the city on this side, and we're going to try and pick and choose our targets. What I decided to do is go for this capture zone right here. I saw it was pretty scantily defended, and I'm going to charge into his crossbowmen and others. Meanwhile, this is going to sort of detract the attention of our opponents. They can try and reinforce this, but you know, it's going to be to my advantage if they don't. If they do, it'll only just draw away some guys from this fight. So here come our Norman Knights, chopping into this Shieldtron formation. Armored Sergeants in this formation are going to hold out for a while, and we're going to get some more charges up through here. So the fight has been engaged on this front. They have a lot of reserves still over here, so hopefully my ally will target those guys.
Our foe has lost control of the castle.
But there you go, continuing to clean up what's left over here. Sherwood Archer is actually holding up for a while.
Belong to us now.
More of them over here. I'm trying to clean them up, but again, Papal Guard, more of these guys just streaming out of the city, being a pretty big problem. And then my guys perhaps got overextended here. It says victory seems certain, so they should chop through these dismounted feudal knights, but in the rear, more guys closing in on them, so the trap has kind of been sprung. I guess our opponents let me into the city, and now they're going to close in on us. I told my ally to send in some cavalry. I desperately needed it to help clean up some of these papal guards that are running down my men. I'm going to pull off my archers over here to try and shoot these guys point blank. And some of my archers are actually out of ammo. That's how much they shot. So there they go. I'm going to charge into these guys, try and disrupt them, and then hopefully all these cavalry units can try and turn the tide, especially more guys streaming in from the flank dismounted feudal knights. He should really charge into those men. What are my odds here? 51 men left against 56. I should still be doing well. But over here, I'm kind of playing a risky game. I see that there is a lot of units fighting here, armored sergeants, and so what I decided to do is lend some artillery support. I figured, hey, I'm shooting from this angle. If it's going to hit anyone, it'll hit the red guys. I mean, there's more of them. They're more to my side. So I'm going to start just firing shots into there, and we'll just see how that turns out. But I should have probably left this fight to my allies' own devices. Norman Knights will easily beat these guys, but I decided to try, and speed that up with some artillery fire. And this is what I'm talking about. One shot. What are the chances? I single-handedly just killed, I think, 50 of our own guys and routed the entirety of our assault here. So, like I said, I was kind of literally playing with fire right there. Should have left it to my allies' own devices, but I got greedy and I paid for it with that whole assault. Archers still pouring on the fire, but now these guys can go ahead and reinforce that position. So my ally was really pissed at me right there, and justifiably so. Meanwhile, the enemy general has sent some of his guys over here to clean up the artillery crew. He should really be reinforcing with his own general to try and prevent this from happening. He could really use some artillery to soften up some of these positions, but alas, looks like he's looking elsewhere. Over here, my guys are basically all by themselves. They've been left in the city, and now they're going to have to fight for their own. Their upgrades are definitely showing. Here they're better than the other dismounted knights, but yeah, it's going to be turning against them. So now the opponents are starting to get more and more kills on this front, and I am losing. All of a sudden I look at my balance sheet and I have almost no men left. I've kind of committed them all to the fight, and my ally threw in his Norman knights, but they should really be doing hammer and anvils. If I were him, I would send them over here, hit back, hit the rear of these forces, unleash your guys and let them swarm into the city. They're not going to be doing much bog down over here. And it looks like he's going to be doing just that. So probably, yeah, hurry up and do that as quickly as possible. Because over here I'm going to be chewed out by all these reinforcements coming in. There's not much hope for me left. I would go ahead and tell him to rescue his own men. Papal Guard. Going to be getting the rear of my own guys. So that's going to be the end of my forces on this front. Nobly fought. I got a lot of kills, but look at this blood-strewn battlefield. Holy crap. This is intense. And it's cool to see this type of early tier battle. I really like the theme we had also. The longbowmen on the inside defending. I guess they're not technically longbowmen. Well, they probably are. They're just called Sherwood archers. But anyways, obviously you guys know that England was famous for fielding the longbowmen. And those were very, very, very powerful units. They had, obviously, a lot of power in them. It allowed them to punch through some of the thicker armor of medieval technology that would have otherwise blocked arrows shot out of a short bow. And the question is often raised, you know, why did they have the longbow? If it was so effective as it proved at Agincourt and Crécy and other battles, why didn't others implement it? And that's because, and my general just died there. The reasoning behind that is you couldn't just pick up a longbow. You couldn't just give your peasants a longbow and expect them to make it work. And the reason is twofold. The first reason is it takes a lot of practice, experience, and strength. And that is something that actually what the English ended up doing is they made it mandatory for people to practice archery, and they had to do it at least once a week. So they developed a very, very good cultural sort of backing for having training for people to do archery. And also the practice meant that a lot of their peasants and other units would gain familiarity and gain strength to pull those bows back, gain familiarity with it, and they could have lots of people to call on who were familiar with using the longbow, and they could call on that to supplement their armies. Now the second point why other factions didn't really implement the longbow is because they didn't really have the army composition or thinking to do it. The reason I say that is because you can't just... The longbow in and of itself isn't a tool to win the battle. Just because you have a longbow doesn't mean you're going to win the fight. It really depends how you use it. So the way the English used the longbow to its maximum sort of effectiveness was in coordination with mailed knights. They're feudal dismounted knights. Basically the guys you would have seen here. And the way they did it is they had their longbows all concentrated in sort of echelon formations in triangles. And what they sort of like wedges. And those formations would be staked up. They'd have ditches. They'd have all kinds of defenses, caltrops, spikes, palisades, all sorts of stuff built up around the archers. And what they would essentially do is on the battlefield build certain fortified positions with their archers, with stakes. And what would happen is the enemy forces, probably like the French, who had a lot of nobility and knights who wanted to charge into the action, due to the they would sort of charge forward, and they wouldn't end up running into the archers because the archers, for one, were heavily defended, so it was hard to get to them. For, you know, second, if you're a knight and you're under fire from archers, you don't really want to run towards the arrows. You're mostly just psychologically going to seek the comfort of your men. And thirdly, you're a knight, you have a sense of honor and chivalry, and you don't want to be going around killing peasants. You want to seek out the enemy feudal knights, your equals. And the English knew all this, and they would play off of it. And what they would do is, like I said, have those big defensive positions, these wedges of archers, and then between these defensive positions, they would entrench their knights. And so what would happen is, as the French or other forces would attack, those forces would be funneled in by the archers that they didn't want to get too close to, funneled into killing zones, and then they would try and slog out and fight the knights. But the knights from the English were fighting in a defensive position with supporting fire from the archers on the flanks, and they would be basically destroyed. And that was the efficacy of the longbow, and it's something that other people, other nations couldn't really recreate.
Curses!
Anyways, back to the fight over here. We have a lot of armored sergeants in the mix. It looks like we should be winning this fight. I mean, there's 8 dismounted feudal knights and only 72 here left. Plus, we have a lot of guys left over here. We're streaming into the city, so it seems like we should be able to capture this position. But slowly, they are going to be feeding reinforcements into this little gap. And so they are turning the tides. My ally is not able to penetrate into this. What I would have done if I was him is not send everything into this position. He should have probably sent a couple more reinforcements over to this side, which he tried to do with his general, but he got warded off by Papal Guard spearmen. He should have sent more feudal knights, really flanked around and opened up various avenues. You can't just go in through 2 gaps. You saw what I had to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gaps all at once. Otherwise, you get choked up and you get killed. Let's go ahead and watch a little bit of this combat up close as they fight it out. And our guys are starting to get tired and they're shaken. That is not good. If we lose our general, that's a problem. You can see the general in the background circling around. He's starting to take some pings from these watchtowers. So he's got to keep him healthy and alive, which for the moment he is, but you know, soon he could be taken out. Looks like the Sherwood archers, oh my god, all the way from over here, starting to get some shots off at the enemy general, or at the allied general. And then he goes ahead and he charges them and dismounted feudal knights. That's a good choice. Routes them. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to clean up these guys that got into the rear of his Norman knights and his armored sergeants here. It looks like they're fighting to the death. They're broken. So this is not good. Look at us. We're at half strength. And dismounted feudal knights are actually going to start to cut through our guys. So despite having maybe a numerical advantage, the tides are actually going to start to turn, and the Papal Guard spearmen being thrown into this fight at this point when we're already tired, when we're already bloodied, when we're already starting to break, not good for us. So despite having some superiority in numbers, it looks like we actually are going to start being kicked out of the city. So this is not going well at all. My ally is going to pull back his general, try and keep him alive, try and rally some of his forces. It's going to work, but all that's coming back are these Muslim archers. They're out of ammo. They're not going to be able to do very much. That is a problem. I think, oh man, I take a look over here and look at those charred bodies on the ground. That was my doing. If I hadn't had that shot there, we might have been able to break through there with those several Norman Knight units earlier. They wouldn't have routed, and we could have maybe broken through. So I have to apologize for that to my ally. We might have been able to break this front had I not had the unlucky shot hitting our guys and breaking them where that stood. But anyways, I'm back at it with the artillery. Again, I'm going to gamble a bit. I figured, okay, you know, I messed up the first time. Let's go ahead and try a second shot and see if my artillerymen have learned. They've probably been chastised by the general for what they did last time. Let's go ahead and see if they can do any better. And looks like we're going to be ready to fire. Nope. I repositioned, I retargeted, so they're going to have to reload completely. But dang it, now, look at this. So many dead bodies, and now our opponents have kind of collected everyone from around the battlefield, all their crossbowmen, and they're going to throw everything into this fight. Oh, here comes a shot. Nice, returning the favor. There you go. A nice clean shot through here, but it happened a little too late. Our guys are already breaking, already routing. So there you go. That is going to be the end of the battle here. Both our flanks are going to start routing. Our enemy somehow bringing enough forces to cull our ranks at the last minute, cleaning up our guys, stemming them. And I think some of this battle could have gotten in our favor had my ally broken through on multiple fronts. I don't know why he didn't really bring any battering rams. He should have opened up more fronts and attacked sooner while I had all those forces distracted. We should have poured in together. But anyways, I do have a little bit of culpability due to the guys I killed over at this gate here. But also take a look at the enemy kills. I mean, I got almost 3 times as many kills as my ally, so I have to say I was the workhorse of that battle. Our opponent over here, the Papal States, actually getting a lot of kills as well. So kudos to him. Great job. Hope you guys enjoy this. I really like playing these old school Total War games. Medieval too, especially in the time period and the sieges themselves, can be really, really fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you in the next one. Peace out.